Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother, a necklace full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jewelers reimagines family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Working one-on-one, Duke's designers honor the original story while creating something fresh and modern. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com, where old stories become new treasures.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program. TRAJANwealth.com for all your trusted local needs in retirement. Jared Weiss covers the NBA for The Athletic. Also focuses in on the Spurs as well. Not a bad time to be following this Spurs team. Jared, thanks for being with us again, man.
I got to say, of all the lead-ins I've ever gotten to a radio hit, don't do drugs, kids. It's got to be the best part.
That's what you get in Utah. That's the message we get. We give it out once a day in
that
Utah.
message resonates anywhere.
Come on. I know. Well, look, and it was all just based off of the fact that a lot of the artists we listen to, you go, I think their lead singer's dead. Yeah, that's unfortunately how it works in the music world. It's not good. But, Jared, you're picking an awesome time to be able to cover the Spurs team. You've been through a lot, probably covering the Spurs team. And we're going through it here in Utah when it comes to a team who is not used to the stretch of years that they've had to put up with losses and doing the whole back and forth of the lottery and the hopes and dreams that sometimes brings and a lot of times doesn't. So this Spurs team, what is it that made them make such a big jump? I know that having personnel is great, but there's also like a learning to win aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an obvious one. We'll skip over that. It's too obvious, right? Anybody could tell you that. But for them, it's the layers of depth and buy-in that they've gotten across the roster. Like, it just starts with they traded for De'Aaron Fox, and he's an all-star, now a two-time all-star, who is, like, happy to take a back seat. And it's just hard to find, like, a max player, a former all-star, guy that's won Clutch Player of the Year, to be, like, fine with being like, all right, I'm not going to take the last shot, no problem. Like, he has this perspective where he gets it. He's like, I'm here to be the Robin to who could end up being the greatest Batman that we've seen, like the Michael Keaton or the Christian Bale of Batmans. I don't know. I guess it depends how old you are.
Sure.
And so, like, he's happy to do it. Steph Castle is emerging as probably going to be a perennial all-star. And he's just, like, totally happy to share touches with De'Aaron. Dylan Harper is the number 2 pick in the draft. The guys drafted around him are already superstars. He's coming off the bench, and every time I ask him about it, he's like, bro, I play with Victor Wembanyama. Like, I don't care. I want to win a championship. They just picked all these guys, and I'm just talking about the stars now. You get to the Keldon Johnsons, Devin Vassell's, Julian Champagne's, Harrison Barnes. Like, you could just keep going. Brian Wright and Mitch Johnson, the guys running that team, they've done a great job putting together a harmonious system.
And look, obviously there was some luck involved in it, but the Spurs built it through a combination of things. But we all know that they tanked to get Wembanyama, and they have a history of this and a history of hitting on it. And it's a big topic in the NBA right now. You're immersed in this. Do you have any suggestions on what to do about this, or is it silly that we're even debating it? Because this is unfortunately just what you have to do in order to get those difference makers that take you to a championship.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the lottery to take away like a little bit of, introduce a little bit of randomness, but like to try to cycle over long periods of time the competitive balance in the league, which is necessary. It is. And I definitely worry about some of the suggestions for lottery reform about them, leaving some franchises completely hapless for a long time. And I guess maybe that's not really going to be any different than it is now. I mean, the Sacramento Kings do exist, but it's going to It's clear that they need to do something. I don't know if what they need to do is necessarily change the way the lottery works, but rather maybe to give the commissioner more power to make ad hoc decisions, like to be able to find teams or punish teams way more severely than they already have done. This whole conversation really came to a head, and it's the thing that keeps getting brought up to me over and over again, is when the Jazz rested their guys in the fourth quarter of that game. Like, that's what it was. That's what broke the camel's back. And, Silver came down hard, but he could have come down a lot harder. And maybe the NBA Constitution limits how hard he's able to come down on these teams. I think that's where you'd want to make the changes. So therefore, you can kind of put out these fires when they happen without taking away the competitive balance thing. But it's going to change. And I think we all just got to embrace the fact that it's going to change. And hopefully it will at least restore a little bit of faith in people's perception of the game, which is already right now really, really in trouble between that and Kalshi and Polymarket and all these betting companies exploding. The league has a credibility issue, and it's not a 5-alarm fire, but I can hear the alarm. I'm sure you guys can hear the alarm right now too, and they got to do something before it gets louder.
100%.
So I was looking at these standings, at least yesterday. I think we were, I'll refresh my memory on some of these numbers here, but between 3 and 6 in the Western Conference, it's now 3.5 games that separate 3 and 6. Yesterday it was 3. The Lakers, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Rockets, and that's it. Yeah, Lakers, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Rockets. That 3 to 6, everybody has a very similar record. My question for you is, out of those teams, which one actually has a chance to contend with the Spurs or the Thunder in that Western Conference to be able to get to the NBA Finals?
I mean, listen, Jokic is the guy that probably would scare the Spurs the most. He's the guy that is kind of toughest for them to match up with. And also, Wemby might have to guard him. And the Spurs' success has very much been predicated on Wemby plays zone most of the game. Wemby just parks in the paint, and they manage to do it in a way that doesn't break the rules, and they manage to do it in a way that conserves his energy. If they can't do that, that's going to completely change the team most likely. So we'll see. I mean, that's the guy that I would be most concerned of on the Spurs. On the Thunder, it's a little different because they do have a lot of personnel that matches up well. Minnesota is probably the team that would scare me the most, depending on how their offense is put together. And then right now, I mean, hey, Luka is averaging 70 points a game right now. So there's a lot of good answers. Houston's the only team that you're not as worried about right now, just because one, their offensive spacing has been an issue, and they haven't been the same since the KD burner scandal, and the vibes have just not been good there right now. So they're probably going to finish in 6, and so the order will probably look reasonably accurate relative to how good these teams are, how much of a threat they actually are. But it certainly seems like the representative of the West is most likely going to be one of those top 2 teams.
You look at the Spurs, and the 9-game winning streak right now is impressive. 57-18 is impressive. It's just, and Wembanyama is a freak, and their roster is great. And people here in Utah hate to admit it, but the Spurs are great, and everything that they've done is perfect. But you can't skip steps in this league. What gives them the confidence, and what are you seeing from this team that gives them confidence that they can't skip those steps? Because going from not making the playoffs to all of a sudden contending, that's quite a jump.
Well, look at Cleveland last year. So Cleveland, they won 60 games also. I think the Spurs are at 58 or 59. I'm pretty sure they're going to get to 60.
Yeah.
That was a team that had a really clear identity. Then they got to the playoffs. They lost. One of their guys got hurt. Darius Garland got hurt. Their spacing didn't really work as well in the postseason, and they fell off to a team that just had a really clear identity and hit the gas at the right time. Indiana, and look what Indiana did. They almost won the championship, and who knows? Maybe they would have won it if it weren't for the injury. The Spurs' identity, I think, to their credit, it changes very frequently. They're a very adaptive team. Obviously, they're relying on Wemby. If Wemby gets hurt, then obviously they're not going to win. Who cares? Whatever. That's obvious. They have a bunch of different guys that can run their offense, and they adapt well to different defenses. And Wemby in particular operates in very different ways depending on the opponent. So their versatility just makes me think they're going to be very playoff resilient, because whoever they face, they're going to be able to change their game plan up. They're going to be able to maybe tweak lineups a little bit. But most importantly, like their star player will be happy to adapt. And he's not locked in to exactly the way he plays. In fact, what's interesting about Victor is while Victor can really put his foot on like the throat of the opponent, his game is almost passive in a way a lot of the time where he's the roll man. Like the guards just kind of like run in circles until eventually someone forgets to touch Victor, and then Victor's just like standing 30 feet over the hoop and they just throw the ball in the air. Like that's how they win these games. So I think that they're built to be playoff resilient, and they already have a lot of guys that like to be intense, that like to compete. And so the intensity of the postseason probably won't be the issue. It's more of the complexity and layers and adjustments and tendency things that come into play in the postseason. That's going to be probably the part where a lot of those guys struggle. And like Victor, as amazing as he's been, teams that beat the crap out of him and throw him to the floor, he's getting better at handling that, but we haven't seen him have to handle that every single game over and over. So we'll see how he holds up on a playoff run.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car is gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
So the owners were supposed to have a vote, I think a preliminary vote on the possibility of expansion and what that looks like. Everybody talks about Seattle and Las Vegas, almost like it's a done deal. Feels like that. I grew up a Sonics fan, and so it was always been weird that they haven't been in the league, but I wonder if there's anything in the way that would make it to where this expansion situation doesn't happen. Is there a possibility that that either of those cities are not necessarily going to be able to make it happen, or is this just kind of one of these things we're waiting for everything to get solved before the next round of expansion happens?
There's definitely a chance it's not going to happen. Here's why. The league has been, there's been reports that the league wants like $7 billion, $8 billion for an expansion fee, which would make them the second most expensive sale ever, right, to the Lakers. And they're counting on, one, rapid inflation on these franchise valuations really, really quickly, like almost immediately. And two, a Vegas team is probably worth a lot more than a Seattle team. So there's no way they're going to go for the same price. Like the Seattle market and the Vegas market are two very different markets. So, and I don't know the economics of it. Maybe they even out in their value between like local fans in Seattle versus, transient fans in Vegas. I don't really know. But there's certainly a lot more money to be made in partnerships and advertising revenue and blah, blah, blah in Vegas, right? So I just don't see how the league is going to get $8 billion or whatever the number that people really are throwing around is on Seattle. And so then what happens if they can only get the price that they want on one of these teams and not the other? And also, there's a lot more people that are trying to get into business in Vegas than there are trying to get into business in Seattle. So I'm a little dubious that they're going to get what they want, but they're probably still going to get enough money to make it worthwhile, right? But like, it seems like the whole point of expansion has always been to try to get those expansion fees divvied out to all the owners.
Wemby recently made his case for MVP, and I get it. Can you make the case for Wemby for MVP, or is you just look at SGA and Jokic and even Luka and think he's not quite ready for that consideration yet? What is the case for Wemby?
Go watch a game. It's not that complicated. Watch a game. His numbers are very good. They're not elite, but they are very good. And then you watch a game and you see how much of the box score doesn't capture what he does. I've been working on doing some research with some analytics folks to try to use tracking data to capture what he does. And the tracking data makes it look like he's like kind of an outlier as the best player in the NBA in a lot of different ways. So he's a very different player than those guys. I mean, he's on the track to becoming a similar type of player to Jokic. He's not the passer that Jokic is, but the way that he moves around the court, the way that the ball funnels through him is becoming more and more similar to the style of play that Jokic does as time goes on, even if the way that they literally move is very different. And so, you know, Wemby's main case, and this is what the case that he made to me and that we then, you know, had him do publicly in a press conference, is the number one thing is defense is 50% of the game. And I even argued to him that if you're a center, which he scoffed at because he's like, I'm not quite a center. Don't put me in that box. But, you know, center defense might be 70% of their value on the court, really. And, like, look at his defense, man. Like, guys just run away from him. Like, they literally, like, just teams have – Doc Rivers just said it, actually talking about his offense, but I'd say it applies more even to his defense, that you have to change your game plan when you face it because he's just a completely different animal to contain. Because, like, if he's able to stand untouched anywhere in the paint, the play's over. Like, they just throw it up to him, and they do it 5-6 times a night. He just, the gravity that he has is so much stronger than anybody else. He's even stronger than Jokic. And so much of what he does doesn't get captured in the box score. But then you look at, like, they're taking the most corner three-pointers ever. They were a team that wasn't even supposed to be a good three-point shooting team, and they're doing well just because he creates so many open shots. So if you watch the game, you will see it. He is someone that is impacting every possession on both sides of the floor. His aggregate impact over the course of the game is probably higher than everybody else's.
I look at the way that the league is going. You mentioned all of the betting house relationships that, frankly, every sport is trying to figure out how to balance that out and how to work it. Have we gotten any update about the guys that have been? I think we just forgot about Chauncey Billups and just like he just sort of went away, and I'm sure that's what the NBA probably hopes for. But do they have any kind of movement on the scandals that have busted out from some of the betting stuff? And obviously trying to nip that stuff in the bud is really, really tough if you're Adam Silver. But do we know anything about where that stands with these guys who were taken from their teams and all the past investigations that were ongoing?
I'm not up to speed on the court cases, but I mean, you know, the wheels of justice do move pretty slowly, right? So I think they all got their plea deals in, and I'm sure there's been some more hearings, or there's another hearing coming soon. I don't know what part of these things are sealed or not, but it is I think an ongoing federal investigation. So oftentimes stuff gets sealed on that. But I mean, it's going to come back up, and I think eventually, once these trials begin and evidence starts getting out to the public, that's when stuff is really going to come to a head. So I'm sure that story is not going to completely die out. It's going to get revived multiple times.
You look at the standings, and it just looks like there's this big gap between the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. But is there a team in the East that has any chance to win a title this year against whoever comes out of the West?
Well, yeah. I mean, Jason Tatum just came back, right? So that's probably the most obvious one. They've been playing well. He just won Player of the Week. Like, the guy came back pretty early from an Achilles tear, and then won Player of the Week like a few weeks into it. Like, come on, like this is ridiculous. So, the Celtics very clearly are in that tier, or I would say very clearly, but it seems like the Celtics are in that top contender tier with the Spurs and the Thunder. The Pistons losing Cade now, we'll see what happens there. But there was always, I think, some well-founded skepticism about can the Pistons really win a championship where they only have one real primary ball handler? Like, there's just so much to put on Cade's shoulders there. And the Knicks, who knows? The Knicks, the Cavs, two teams that it's like, they got the talent, they've got the potential to do it, and they've been good generally good lately in the second half of the season. So it's possible for them. But with the way the Celtics have been playing this year, and now getting Tatum back, and Tatum's really hitting his stride here, they just seem like the very obvious top contender.
Yeah, I agree.
Jared Weiss, his X handle, easy enough to follow, Jared Weiss, NBA. You can also see his byline at The Athletic. Jared, we always love dipping in, man. Thanks for hanging out. And I would think we'd be able to dip in on some Spurs playoff talk once they get deep enough and make a run there. So we'll chat with you again in the future, man.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Don't do drugs, Jared. There you go.
If you learned anything today.
All right.
This is Mike Boileau of Lexicon Valley. And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.